Welcome back. As I mentioned, we have Dr. Kimberly Shapiro here, who is with Providence Mission Hospital. And of course, many of us have been dealing with isolation and depression due to the fact that we've been home. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's so nice to be here.
So as I mentioned, we're dealing with isolation and depression, and I think primarily teens have been affected because they haven't been able to go to school.
Correct.
And then we have our elderly population who really haven't been able to do all of the social things that they have been wanting to do for so long. So before we get into that, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you arrived at Mission.
Sure. I'm a psychiatrist, which is a medical doctor, go to medical school and then specialize in psychiatric illnesses. I've been doing this for about 10 years. And I came to Mission because there was a wonderful opportunity to lead all of the outpatient programs, which is what I've been doing for the last couple of years.
That is great. And you are located out of the Laguna Beach location, right?
Correct. All of our programs are there. It's beautiful, ocean view, and all the mental health services are located on that campus.
They are. Okay, great, great. So in relation to COVID, how have you noticed in your patients how it has affected any of your patients? Really?
Sure. So the amount of patients seeking services has really increased throughout COVID. And also a recent study from the National Institute of Mental Health has shown that over 40% of American adults are dealing with some kind of depressive or anxious illness since COVID, since the pandemic started. This is either due to the intense isolation, people are mandated to stay home, missing important events in their life, weddings, the birth of their grandchildren, things like that that they can't be a part of, which would normally be a part of the milestones of life.
Right.
Alternatively, some people are forced together with their family. There's too much togetherness, and it's like a real pressure cooker of interaction. Wow. And then finally, just the fear of being infected with this virus has caused just a lot of chaos and a lot of worry in a lot of people. So people are coming in more anxious, more depressed than usual, and anyone who had their resources outside, they were going to a support group, they were able to do social activities, those have really been stripped from us in the past year and a half. So the combination of extreme stress with no outlet is really increasing symptoms in patients, and more people are struggling than normally would be.
So, obviously Zoom came along and it saved us, a lot of us really, because there was no other way to really communicate because you really weren't supposed to go anywhere, right? So we do find that many of our elderly folks here, they've been doing great with Zoom. I mean, even if they weren't tech savvy, they found a way to become tech savvy just so they could go online and do their bridge, or they could do whatever club that they were in. Everybody converted very quickly.
It's fantastic.
Right, and so I'm wondering, did you do Zoom treatments as well?
We did right at the beginning, last March and April. Since last May, we've been live and in person for our programs, almost all of them. There's one that's online, but for the general adult population, it's in person. We've been doing masking, social distancing, and we've had 100% virus-free.
Oh, great.
So that's been good. But listen, Zoom is a fantastic alternative. It's working for telehealth in general. It's going to revolutionize the way that healthcare is provided in this country and around the world. There is something to be said for an in-person interaction, and we do a lot of group therapy. That's like the mainstay of our treatment. So there's something to be said about being live in person, but Zoom is a great alternative, and there's pros and cons to both, I would say.
So when we sit down and we are doing Zooms, like you said, it is a nice alternative, but there is no physical touch. There's no human kind of interaction, like you're saying. And then once we did go that way, it was so nice. And it changes your body somehow. Tell me a little bit about how that works.
How?
Well, it's changing your feelings or your body language.
Being on Zoom?
No, once you come back from being on Zoom.
Oh, I understand.
And being in person. So what are the differences that we're not seeing when we're on Zoom?
I see. Well, when you have an in-person interaction, there's just not that layer of separation between people. So from a psychiatry perspective, I can see more, it's not necessarily just their face. I can see their whole body language. I can see what people are wearing, how they're taking care of themselves, what their full body language is.
Right.
And it's a more natural interaction where if you're, some people are wonderful with technology and others have trouble with eye contact or, just trouble having that one-on-one connection through there. So, people are doing well with it, but I think also there is something to be said for being in person and just having like a natural connection. Everyone is coming back to a little bit more normalcy. Kids going back to school. There's an adjustment period. Same with adults going back to work or people reuniting with their family. There's certainly, it's normal to have some awkwardness and some period of uncertainty when you're coming back to that. So again, it's a whole new world. We're all sort of evolving and dealing with it the best we can. And it's been an interesting evolution, certainly.
Well, yourself, you're having to adjust just as much as anyone else because you haven't been able to do all of those things either. So you're almost on a similar level that maybe someone who hasn't had depression or isolation prior, now you've also experienced the same thing.
100%.
So does that help in your therapy session with people who may be experiencing those things?
Absolutely. This is a universal problem now. I don't think most people are at their best right now. It's a very difficult time to be alive and to just manage everyday problems. Things in my life, everything is now a decision. Can I go to this social event? Is it dangerous? Where before it was like, absolutely no, I can't go.
Right.
Now there's a lot of analysis paralysis, a lot of decision fatigue. What's safe? What's right for my family? What's right between me and my friends? And so it's just a challenge for everyone right now. And depending on your age range, I think people are challenged differently.
Yes.
And more seriously. So,
if you could give everybody maybe two things that they take away from what they're dealing with, what would those two things be?
How to
cope.
Oh, how to cope. So, depending on the severity of your symptoms, it's normal to feel some level of depression or anxiety about the pandemic and what you're going through. If it's just mild, you are still able to do your general daily living activities, you're able to take care of your housework, manage yourself. Maybe you have some mood changes, maybe you have some sleep issues, but they're not too severe. Then it's just adding things to your routine, making sure you have a daily routine that's pretty set so the days don't blur into each other.
Right.
Make sure you're eating healthy, getting good sleep, drinking water, avoiding alcohol and any non-prescription drugs, and reaching out to people.
Okay.
If your symptoms become more severe, you get to the point where you have no energy, really difficulty getting out of bed, no motivation, feeling very down, hopeless, helpless, worthless, and severe sleep problems, or you're getting to the point where you feel like life isn't worth living, that's the time to really get involved in some mental health treatment. Reach out to a therapist, see a psychiatrist, even if just for one evaluation to help you determine what you need, and get some resources to go forward. Any sort of emergency, thoughts of really ending your life, hospital, 911, emergency room, that sort of thing.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh,
I
it's a
really
pleasure to be
appreciate
here.
it, and for good information, because I think Zoom will be with us for a while.
I think so too. So the hospital's there for you. We have services there, and hoping everyone's taking care of themselves well.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right. All right. If you want more information about what we've just discussed, you can contact them at 949-499-7504. We'll be right back.